All right, Dave Man Max 6, we're back at the Mecca Gold's Gym Venice, and this is the weekend after the Fit Expo. I'm here with the great pleasure of having Jim Manion yet one again on Muscle Beach TV. Jim, welcome back to the show, man.
Thank you, Dave. Glad to be here. Look at this weather.
I
Glad
know.
to be back in California.
I know. We love to have you. Tyler, welcome back to Cali, man. You're getting a few days break of that weather from Pittsburgh.
Exactly, staying out of the cold.
Oh, my God, that's awesome. So, Jim, of course, I want to talk about the Fit Expo with the very first-time wellness division coming up. But before we do that, I really wanted to tell you how much I appreciate the last interview we did together. It got a great response from the fan, and I really appreciate the fact that you opened up so much and said things that you've never said before in any interview. And I know you were a little worried about how it was going to be perceived by the public, but it was great. I don't know if you saw any of the comments or the feedback, but we did get some really good feedback, and I'm really glad you did this.
Nah, thank you, Dave. It's that kind of just rolled off. I don't know how we started talking about it that day. Maybe we were talking about The Rock and $7 or something, so I got into the $52. But I'm glad we got good response to it, really.
Yeah, I think it's good for people to see you open up more and see that you're human just like everybody else, and you started from somewhere. Even though what you have built is massive, we all start from somewhere. And I think it inspires people to see, So what do you think about that? Did you see the interview?
Yeah, I thought it was awesome.
Yeah,
I did. I liked it a lot.
Oh, man, that's awesome.
Yeah, I thought it's great for people to, not that I want to be some motivational speaker to people, it gives them an idea that you can succeed in life even when you start out kind of a rough way.
That's
so
right.
if you work hard, you can actually succeed because hard work works. That's always my favorite saying.
Yeah, and I think that's what the message was received from people, and that's the way I took it, and I'm really glad that you actually opened up and talked about that. But so let's talk about this weekend. You are actually in town, aside from enjoying the nice weather, for the very first competition, wellness, that was at the Fit Expo. What did you think of it? What were your impression, and how do you think it's going to turn out?
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate Tamer and Tarek and his whole crew. They do such a great job for us, not only here, but all over the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why Tamer he operates on 48 hours a day, I think. I don't know how he does it, really, but he does.
He's a machine.
Yeah, he really is. But I thought it was a great turnout. Actually, Tyler and Tamer and Tarek helped judge it. I think Tyler head judged it, so he can probably fill in a little more how it went. I thought the winner was good. I thought the top 3, 4, 5 were great, really.
Tyler, talk to me about the division. We talked about it off camera a little bit, but were you surprised at the response from the crowd? And do you think it's going to be a division that's going to go far?
Yeah, I do actually. The crowd for the Fit Expo was great. I mean, the seats were all filled, and a ton of people were standing. And you know how Tamer gets. When he announced it was the first wellness, a ton of people there were screaming and cheering. So it was pretty exciting, honestly, to see. And then I was glad a lot of good girls came out. So it really set the tone, set the standard for the year, what we're looking for. Like my grandpa said, not only the winner, but a couple of the top girls there are really what we're looking for here. So the winner was awesome. I mean, that's exactly what we're looking for in wellness. With the more defined, the shapely legs and the glutes. So they're a little bigger, obviously, than the bikini, but you can see it's kind of like bikini conditioning. So they're still in shape athletes, but obviously you got to work hard to build that muscle and that density in your glutes and your legs. And I think it just went great. And I know some of them were going to our next, our first pro qualifier, I guess, of the year in Colombia in a couple weeks. So it was like their tune-up. So it was good to see. And I think I know this division's big in South America, obviously, and in Europe and the Mediterranean countries, which is why we were getting pressed and people here wanted to bring it to America. And I said, I think it will do okay the first year here. But honestly, the response and the way people respond on social media and stuff like that, I think this division is really going to grow. And I think it's a cool thing to watch too. It's a different look, So I think it's going to be good.
Well, he talked about all the questions I wanted to ask him. That's awesome. I was going to ask you all the questions.
Now the interview's actually over, right? Just started on a roll there.
It's great. So that's why we brought it here. It was so popular in Europe, this division that you said, we have to try it here. Do you think it's going to be, or is it planned to be at this Olympia next year, or we're going to wait next year, Jim?
It's not going to be the 2021.
Oh, okay.
We want to get some pro shows. We're going to have some pro events this year.
Okay.
Actually, the first one's going to be in Pittsburgh. First pro show.
For your show? Nice.
Yeah, my Pittsburgh Championships, because I'm going to have Big Steve there.
Yep.
I have Sandy there. I'm going to have Tyler there. I'm going to have Tamer there, Gary Uter. I have all the top judges there. So we're where we set the standard for what we're looking for, too, in the pro division.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm really glad you talked about the difference between that and bikini, because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, okay, so what is it like bikini? Or so I'm glad you actually you really seem to know what you guys are looking for, and that's important.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like it's a pretty good difference between bikini in that class, like the way they look, you know,
Yeah.
especially. And I think what will really help people is if you actually pictures, you know, they always tell a story, but going to the shows is different because then you see it in person, you see what it really is. Because you know, pictures they can make, you know, these girls, oh man, these girls' legs are huge, oh it's too much, but then you see them in person, like they're bigger, but they're not, you know, overly huge and whatever like that. So as we keep setting the standard and, you know, more athletes come, just like the other divisions when we started them, you know, it takes a little while to evolve. So you'll get to see the standard. And but I think really, you know, pictures, I always like to say, you know, pictures, they don't tell the full story.
Yeah.
So especially conditioning wise, you know, and some, you know, it just makes everything's completely different when you're actually at the show and you can see them up close and in person too. So I think that will help people get a better grasp of what we're looking for as well.
And I think the fact that I think it's smart for you guys to actually wait a full year and then bring it to the Olympia, so people are really understanding the differences between the classes and the division.
Well, for sure, we want to. First of all, we need some qualifying shows. We're
Right.
going to make all the pro shows are going to qualify, just like we do in every other division.
Right.
So we're not going to just have everybody just step on stage. You're going to have to win a contest to
Yeah.
get to the Olympia, just like you do now in bodybuilding, bikini, whatever.
Yeah.
So by 2021, we'll be ready.
Wow, that's exciting. I can't wait. I still have to read the pictures because I was busy all weekend at the expo, but I can't wait to see, you know, because I heard some of the girls who competing, they're, I don't want to say veterans, but they're seasoned, you know, competitors overseas. They're not like nobodies, you know, so they're good, right? So
Exactly, yep.
that's awesome. So, Jim, I want to talk to you a little bit about something different, and this is something that I'm asking because it's for personal reasons, but also to get sort of like your take on it and your advice. It's so many people, especially when you're successful at the top of your sport or at the top of an organization, always have criticism. People always think to know that they know better. People always seem to know that they can do a better job. And I was talking about that with Tyler a little bit. Let's talk about, for example, this year's Olympia. So many people actually came out and said, well, there was an Olympia with an asterisk on it, and you know, made some comment about Brandon and some respectable and respected people in the industry. And I really love the fact that Brandon actually went on social media and answered those critics in a very professional manner. He didn't get upset and just said what he had to say, and I thought it was great. I don't know if you saw them or not, but I was going to ask you, what do you think the best way is to answer people with critics and with, you know, comments like that? I'm sure you've dealt with your share of people always thinking, well, I could do a better job than him, and, you know, people always try to take pot shots. Does that upset you, and is it something that you actually teach Tyler to deal with? Because I'm sure you'll have to deal with some of that stuff in the future as well.
Actually, the older you get, I guess it never really stops bothering you. But Tyler being a little younger, he's going to have a lot more time to have a lot more criticism.
That's right. And it's harder to handle when you're younger, too, because you take things personal.
You get very emotional, and you want to take it, you know, I don't know. You want to get a little crazier than I do right now because I'm kind of used to it.
Yeah.
Even though if someone gets really personal, you know, if they want to talk about how they think I run the NPC or IFB professionally, that's up to them. That's their opinion. I always talk about what we've accomplished and where we're going, and with all the people I had with me. So these people are out there talking bad about Brandon or whatever. You know, this thing of talking bad about the current champion of our sport, I've been around obviously a lot of other sports. Pittsburgh's a great sports town. The Pittsburgh Steelers have 6 Super Bowl rings. So, but I never hear their teams talking bad that when we went on Super Bowl, we were better than when the Steelers won in whatever it was, 2004 or 5, something like that.
We're on the same team.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they're in the game. Just like our people should think this is their sport too. Some of those people, I don't go on social media because, you know, I really don't know what Brandon commented or what anybody said about him. I hear things, obviously.
Yes.
Tyler tells me.
Yes.
But these people that are talking bad about Brandon's win, I mean, they're in our sport. There's some of them are still making a living from it.
That's right.
So they want to talk bad about Brandon. All Brandon can do is show up, compete, whether it's Brandon, whoever,
That's
Phil
right.
Heath, you know, anybody's competing this day and age. If they show up and win, then that's all they can do. They can't control who's entering a contest, who the judges like. Was everybody at their best shape in the Olympia? Probably not. I've seen them all a little better, condition-wise. But some of the people that are talking about that have shown up in contests back in the 90s, not in such good condition too. 90s was a great year for bodybuilding, obviously. It was a great, great year. But to me, you can't compare generations. So they should just kind of let it go, but it seems to be their way of keeping relevant in the sport or maybe that's just their opinion. And I guess they're allowed their opinion if they want to. But I heard Brandon handled it very well because he's a classy guy and a real champion.
Yeah. Tyler, have you, because obviously you're very young and you have a very powerful position, since you're more in tune with social media and your granddad, have you heard certain things that sometimes bother you about yourself or the position you're in? And because I'm sure you will if you haven't already. And how do you handle that? Does it bother you or?
I mean, of course, but I mean, if anybody asked me, I would say, listen, I'm extremely lucky, obviously. So to be in the position I'm in, it's luck. I'm in his family, everything like that, but also is, some people don't realize, especially newer people or older people, whatever, but I've been around since I was a baby.
That's right.
I mean, I've always liked this. Actually, when I was 14 is when I first told him I wanted to be like him. I wanted to do what he did, and he started bringing me around to meetings and all that stuff with him. So I've been doing it my whole life. I know I'm young, but yeah, it can bother me. But then I realized, hey, people are going to say what they're going to say. You can't really let it affect you because. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, what does it matter? As long as you think you're doing your best, you can control what you can control. So, but yeah, no, I see it, and I can see why people get emotional. I mean, sometimes I, can get a little upset, but I'm like, yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, what does it really matter?
Yeah, you're right. I'm glad you think that way. And I think sometimes it might be worse if it comes from someone, like you said, from your team, someone who's supposed to be on your side, someone who's supposed to be in your corner, versus just someone who's an outsider or a stranger. You know what I mean? So. He seems to have a very good head on his shoulders, and I'm glad about that because it is, a tough position to be in. I mean, even in your shoes, I'm sure it's not always nice to hear what people have to say, but I think that comes with the territory. And I think what people have tendency to forget is all the work that have been put in since the very beginning to be in that position. People always seem to think that it's easy, but they don't see everything that's been done to get to that point, right, Jim?
Absolutely. It's, the NPC started 40 years ago. So we didn't just arrive at this position easily.
That's right.
And when you talk about friends, I've been pretty lucky over the years when I call real friends, because in life you're going to get a lot of acquaintances, a lot of people are friends, but you have your core of people that you can really count on. And I've been fairly lucky that maybe one or two have done some things that I don't appreciate, but when you talk people like I've had around me, like, Big Steve, Sandy, Gary, now we got younger guys like Tamer, Tarek. I don't know who else I'm missing, but now we have a lot of international promoters. I mean, so far with all those people, I never worry about them because I know they're solid. The other people, they don't really matter.
Yeah.
They really don't. You can't control everybody's feelings.
Or please everybody.
You can't, obviously. Why? Yeah. I can please a lot of people, but not everybody.
I know. No, you're right. So I'm glad we talked about this because that's even something that, the channel is doing very, very well right now. And it wasn't always the case. We started about 2 years ago when we teamed up with Jay, and now we're doing great. And then suddenly I see that as the channel is doing very well, people come out of the woodwork. Oh, you should do this, you should do that. People that obviously don't matter, but some people that matter more to me, I guess. And when you hear this stuff, you're like, where is this coming from?
You know what that tells you, Dave?
I'm successful.
You're getting more successful, right? You're getting bigger, and you're bypassing some other of these, whatever they call them, websites, podcasts, or whatever.
Yeah.
So. And the bigger you get, the more jealous people are going to get, the more envious people get. And people they love to talk bad about people. It's just their nature, a lot of people, So
it's sad.
Yeah, it's sad in a way, but it's too hard to control. I mean, your association with Jay, who's obviously one of our best ambassadors ever.
Yeah.
I always point out like him, Lee Haney, whoever.
Yeah.
Jay's a great guy, and, I'm sure you're going to take your criticism because you're so close to him and, you're always around them, and people, oh, what are you doing following Jay Cutler around, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But obviously when they start talking bad about you, it could be a good thing. That means you're getting very successful. You're getting a bigger audience listening, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I don't follow this, but I'm sure you have a lot of people following now.
Yeah, almost 350. Yeah, over 350,000.
Great.
So
Great.
we increased like 250,000 subscribers in like less than 2 years. So it's massive.
Don't tell Jay I don't follow. I'm just telling him I watch everything.
I know you do. That's why you come back on the channel. We really appreciate, by the way, you guys always make time for us because I know you don't do a lot of interviews, so I really appreciate that. But thank you for the advice. It means a lot coming from you because I know you have to deal with this, and I'm really glad that you have such a great grandfather to teach you, Tyler, because it's not always easy. And for someone who's so young, you have a really good head on your shoulder, and you have a good attitude. And not that you'll never get mad. I'm sure that's going to happen, but at least it's to have him as a mentor helps a lot.
It helps a lot, and also I don't want to leave out, like you said, Big Steve, Sandy, Gary,
Yes.
even Tamer, even the younger guys who I consider part of like my crew, even though they're 15, 20 years older than me, they're still I consider the young. They've all helped me so much, and I mean, if I wasn't in this environment with these good people, it could be a lot different.
I know.
And also, with the criticism, I want to say, I'm always open to suggestions, which I know that's how he is as well. So, if you ever see us and you want to come up and talk, we're always, open to talking. If you have some idea, it might not work, it might not be good, but hey, there's sometimes people come up and I say, wow, I never even thought of that, but that's a good idea,
Yeah.
So you have to be open to criticism as well. Not even criticism, just, ideas.
New ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Open mind. Well, I'm glad you guys, and I think what's important is always to try to do your best. And I think if you're always doing your best, even though people may not always agree with it, at least you can tell yourself, hey, I've done my best, and if you don't like it, so be it. That's all I can do.
That's life, actually.
Right.
But I wanted to get off this subject because I think we're given enough time
Yes,
to it.
absolutely.
It's going to be what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about how we now started NPC worldwide,
Yes.
where we have all our pro qualifiers all over the world now. We're going to have over 200 events regionally and pro qualifiers all over the world. And Ifbb Professional League, we're going to have more contests this year than ever. We're looking to do another big pro show in China.
Wow.
Obviously, we're in South Korea, Japan. I mean, you name it. We have pro shows in almost every country.
That's awesome.
So the Professional League of the Ifbb is alive and well.
Oh, well, there's no doubt. So on this note, you guys, keep it positive out there. I think we need more of it. We need more positive energy, more positive attitude, and I think people gravitate to that, right, more than the negative.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Got to have a positive outlook.
That's right. Yeah. For J Color TV, Jim Manion, Tyler Manion, thank you so much for coming on the show, guys. And then we're out.
Thanks, Dave.